And we are recording. Hello, Dorothy. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited that you're on the show today. I'm really glad we connected on Facebook. One of the things I wanted to mention is that I really love your posts. Like they're
Thank you.
so upbeat, so informational. At the same time, they're kind of grounded, which I really like. It's a really grounded approach. And you're not afraid to throw a few F bombs in there once in a while that I've noticed.
That's a new thing. That's a
But
new
you know
thing.
what? I appreciate that because, in this work, when, doing metaphysical work and we're doing energy work, there's this kind of connotation that how we're supposed to be, we're supposed to be a little more woo woo and a little less grounded. And when I saw your post, I'm going, you know what? I got to have this person on my show. I love her information. I love what she talks about. Being a fellow Reiki person myself, I said, okay, we're going to have a lot to talk about. And I really love their post talking about, shifting of vibrational frequencies and moving into 5 dimensions. So if we can just kind of start on that, but I know you got a lot of other things that you do too as well. So maybe just kind of get us down the road a bit about what that all means.
In terms of what I do or how the
Yeah, like
energy's
just yeah, a
going.
little bit about what you do, but also too about understanding what it means for the rest of us, because there's so many people kind of getting out of the I guess really kind of getting out of the 3rd dimensional kind of energies. And with this whole pandemic and stuff like that, people are searching for information. And a lot of people are talking about shifting frequencies and 5D, but they kind of go, what does it all mean? Like, what do you mean 5D? What is 5D? You know?
You know what? That's amazing that they can even ask that question. Because if you said that like last year, even maybe 2, 3 years ago, they'd be like, what's 5D?
Yes.
We're in 3D, man. Like we're three-dimensional, right? Yeah, we are. But 3D is a frequency
Okay.
that we used to be in for a very long time. So what's going on is we're feeling things. A lot of things are happening on the planet, and we're feeling more things because of that as well. So I like to say, I actually wrote a post about this yesterday, that 2020 was a wake-up call. It served as a wake-up call for many. And we can see that, as you're saying, many people are now seeking this greater wisdom, this greater understanding, trying to make sense of this thing called life, this experience that we're having collectively and individually, and putting it all together in some kind of spiritual context that's also easy to navigate through and understand.
Yeah.
So we have been in a 3D paradigm for a very long time. And this has a lot to do with astrology as well, and the cycles of how we rotate and where we are in space and time, literally. So if you are familiar with the Mayan calendar,
Yep.
the Mayans were the great keepers of time. So what happened is they predicted, I don't know if you remember, but they said 2020, 2012, the world would
Yeah.
end. That's
Yeah.
not what happened. That's not exactly what literally was meant. It just meant that we were going to shift. That time had ended. That specific frequency of time had ended. We entered a new bandwidth. So we actually entered into 5D back in 2012. That
Okay.
frequency became available to us. This was known as the cosmic moment.
All right.
So another thing with that point in time that's very interesting is that children that were born 2012 and onward were absolved of karma. So these beautiful new souls don't have to go through all the earthly dramas and densities that we did. They are
Great.
very soul purpose. They are here for a big reason, for big work. And us, this generation, the one that is transitioning from this old patriarchal 3D paradigm, shifting into this 5D heart activated, heart centered, intentional living paradigm, we are the foundation for these children to truly thrive. So if basically we can heal our bullshit, these kids are going to create a beautiful new earth. But
Beautiful.
it's our responsibility to usher that for them. So this is where the parents, the teachers, the structures, all of that is coming up for review. And
Yeah.
a lot of the
Interesting.
things that we've been doing for a very long time are not working. And a lot of the things that we were used to, we're never going to go back to. So we're in these crosshairs. It's almost like a timeline glitch, literally. Maybe some people are experiencing that. I'm hearing a lot of my clients say that they're feeling like time is speeding up. Time is accelerating, and it actually is. The Earth is actually spinning faster as well. So there's this thing called the Schumann's resonance, and I talk about it a lot. I like to share what's happening with the
Please do.
energies.
It's always important. I love the Schumann resonance. Yes.
Yeah, so you can get the app on your own phone, and it's just a great thing to keep track of. So the Schumann's resonance was invented by a German scientist. His last name is Schumann, and it measures the electromagnetic field of the Earth. So what we're experiencing now is these massive influxes of energy. And if we tap into them and catch that vibration and work with this energy, we can accomplish so much more in terms of deep healing and accessing higher aspects of ourself if we work with this energy.
Okay.
Otherwise, a lot of people are feeling this energy in not the nicest ways. And these are known as the ascension symptoms.
Yes, I've heard that a lot. And I've had so many people ask me about that. And I know a little bit about it. And I'm not the most highly educated person on ascension symptoms and stuff like that. But I also feel it very much myself. And people are always like, okay, why am I feeling such crap? Why am I feeling all these crazy emotions? Why am I thinking about this past trauma? And they're going through like you said, like these cycles up and down, and they feel like their life is up and down. Like, they're feeling 1 week they're great. Next 3 weeks later, that's like they're in the crapper again. It's like, what's going on? And it's interesting that you talk about those shifting frequencies. So what are some of the things that you talk about with your clients to kind of help them work with those energies so it's not as traumatic or difficult to facilitate through?
Well, first and foremost, it's taking full responsibility for our healing.
Okay.
That is where the journey begins for each and every single one of us. Because when we came onto this planet as a beautiful soul, we were free of all of this density. But unfortunately, we had to go. We signed up for this. Our soul signed up for this earthly experience. And the most comforting thing I can tell anybody listening is that your soul chose to be here on earth at this very time, at this very moment, because within you is the ultimate truth, your fullest potential, which is in your DNA, which we can talk about later. And until we clear that density, because we go through this veil of amnesia, so we forget all the magnificence that we are. And there's a reason for that, because it's a process of remembering. That's essentially all that ascension is. It's a process of remembering to remember who you really are before you have to do that whole human thing. Because it's hard. It's hard being human. We got big feelings, we got big emotions, and emotions are just energy in motion. Our emotions are our greatest teachers. So invite them as a teacher. Whenever they happen, whenever they come up, those triggers are just activating old genetic markers that were programmed in you from generations or lifetimes before. And you're just playing out the same thing. So we live in these karmic loops until we get awareness. And the universe will keep presenting us with the same lessons, the same relationships, the same jobs until we become aware and we can break that chain. And that is the incredible, powerful moment in our journey. That's when we take that ownership and we say, hey, the story no longer owns me. I have to go through this story. We have to call a spade a spade. It's not that the trauma, the thing never happened, but I'm not a prisoner of that thing anymore. Yeah. And I can reframe my reality to have a completely different experience. I don't have to live the way my ancestors did.
Yeah. So that's important. So I'm just going to pause the recording for a second. Your audio, there we go. Beautiful. We had a little technical difficulties there, but we're back in there. But this is one of the things I loved about your work too, as well, is the ancestral part too, as well. And it's amazing. Like, we do all this work. For some of us, we go into therapy, we take all these other courses, and we try to figure out to unwind or unprogram what we've been programmed into since we were our childhood. And we realize that it's not just the information that we do on this lifetime too. it's ancestral, like you're saying. It's patterns of my parents and their parents and their parents, and they're passing that genetic information off to us, and how to live, how to act, how to thrive or not thrive in this kind of reality, right? And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting over the years, I've studied John Bradshaw's work, and he did
Mm-hmm.
some things about a genogram, where you kind of look on your past and you kind of see the lineage of all the kind of crazy things that happen in your life, and you look up and you go, okay, that's why I'm so messed up. Now it makes sense, because it passes from your father, your mother, and then they have a baby, which is me, and then all of a sudden they pass their stuff onto you, and then it's like, okay, great. How am I going to figure this out? And for a lot of people, they don't realize that this is very, very powerful. You can do a lot of work, but there's sometimes that little piece that's missing. And I know that you work with that too as well. I know you talk about epigenetics and and working with that in the ancestral patterns stuff like that. Maybe you can touch on a little bit more of that, because I think it's a piece that a lot of people are not aware of. I mean, they maybe might be aware
Mm-hmm.
of, because they always say that thing. It's like, I'm not my mother, I'm not my father. But then you realize you are your parents. You don't realize you're acting the
I
same
am
way.
my father's daughter.
Yes,
The apple
exactly.
doesn't fall far from the tree. It's true. So the thing that's saying it's in my genes, can't use that one anymore.
Yeah.
You can't blame your genes, because you can actually change your genetic markers. You can change your gene. Can't change your DNA, but you can change your genes and how they express themselves. That's what epigenetics essentially is. So for someone like myself, and maybe other people that are on this spiritual path, maybe they've been on this path for a long time. And a lot of spiritual work, yeah, we work within the body, we work within our energy centers known as chakras, but we go sometimes very big. And I went this way as well. Like, it's pretty cool when you get to learn about everything above and beyond you, right? Like, you want to tap into everything that's possible within your grasp and learn about these things. So my journey as well went very macro, to the macrocosm, the universe, like multidimensional living. What does that mean? Accessing timelines, astral travel, higher consciousness, my higher selves, collapsing timelines. Like, this is all amazing work. But if we forget that we're still a human, this beautiful consciousness having a human experience, we can't really translate all of that wonderful wisdom and knowledge in this human experience.
Yeah.
And we're actually meant to have that material experience, because we're on this planet for a reason, to bring forth that wisdom and those divine gifts to share that benefit all of humanity. So I found that doing this work was very top heavy as well. We're usually in our crown chakras, like if you don't
Hmm.
feel very grounded, or you don't know how to materialize things. So this happens to, people who are on a spiritual path. They get very in their heads.
You're
So,
preaching to the choir, sister.
so I did a lot of work. And then there were certain blocks that kept coming up. This is even last year. Last year was like, ooh, let's turn the dial a little bit, because you're
Yeah.
still not getting all the lessons, girl. So we're
Oh
gonna
yeah.
give them to you in another form. So, for example, like anything with abundance blocks, like we have to come back to the root of the things, and the root, like those are our roots, our family roots. So there were certain things I kept stumbling upon, which I always felt like, but I've already healed that. I've already done that work. I have so much love for humanity. Why is this happening? Ah, okay. So, for example, let's say, and this is in my case too, let's say I healed my relationships with others, with how I see the world, tapping into the higher heart, unconditional love, so beautiful, active, everything's great. I've healed personal relationships with family members, with partners, like all reconciled, lovely, all in the heart. It's good. However, my business, for example, like what's going on? We kind of kept hitting like this roadblocks, like this limitation. So that became the invitation to study generational healing and epigenetics, because I realized while everything is big and lovely on the macro, we have to bring it back into the human vessel and go micro, because within each one of us is the infinite universe. There's a universe inside of you. As
Yes.
above, so below, as within, so without. So I realized I had to really narrow my scope and start to focus on the relationship that I had with myself first and foremost. And I realized that anything with abundance has to do with self-love and self-worth. And the one relationship I didn't fully heal was the one I had with myself. And
Yes.
once I tapped into that and why I had those beliefs about myself, my self-worth and self-love, those were mommy daddy issues. So then that took me down the rabbit hole into tapping into, doing the ancestry testing, which really didn't do much because that just tells me where my family members have come from geographically. So I'm like, no, this isn't it. So I felt things were on a cellular level because like I started to pay attention to my triggers. And then I'd question things. Like as soon as a trigger comes up, deal with it. Don't brush it under the rug. Don't stuff it in the closet.
What? We
Remember,
can't go like drink some drinks and eat some food and watch some TV and try to forget about it? No, we have to actually sit there and feel those things. Is that what you're saying?
that's called because all of our power is in the moment of now. If you are outside of this moment, you are again dwelling in the past or you're anxious about the future. And when we're out of our funnel of now, where our power is, we are giving our energy away. We are outside of ourselves. Our energy is outside of us. And then we become more susceptible to other energies influencing us. And
Yes.
alcohol actually does that too. That's why it's called spirit, because other
Hmm.
spirits are attracted to you drinking and lowering your vibration. And then you do things that you regret or you don't remember because those spirits took over.
Yeah, it's
So,
so true. Like I didn't realize that until I started my own journey, but also working with my psychic powers. And I realized it's amazing. Now I look back and I'm just like all the times the shitty things that happened to me. Yeah, it's like I was drinking and I was doing stuff and because I wanted to forget, all that stuff. But it is so amazing. Even now, like I mean, um, even with the use of marijuana nowadays, people using pot too. It's basically the same thing. It's amazing. I could see now that how somebody's energy field is altered. It's like a distorted energy field. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. If you've seen people walking down the streets, you can tell, you can smell them on them first, but you can just see their energy patterns are all just kind of it's like this morphic wave, like weirdness that's enveloped them. And it's just like, man, it's like, yeah, that's just not healthy. And I realized it is so true. It is so true that those things could really affect you.
yep, and those are from substances, but there are other external factors that can also do that. So I don't know if you're
Hmm.
also catching how this pandemic, for example, is affecting people. People are becoming like living, walking zombies on the streets
Yes.
because they are in such a state of fear. So fear is energy that contracts and we start collapsing within ourselves. And it's also that fragmented auric field that's just not in its personal power
Yeah.
and light. So then guess what? Our auric field is magnetic, electromagnetic, just like the Earth's. And like a fridge, you're attracting magnets, people, situations that are at that same vibration. And that's the power, the law of attraction, right? Like always attracts like. So you have
Yeah.
to be very conscious of how you're feeling, how you're thinking
Yeah.
in every single
Any
moment.
practical steps? I always love when I have my people on, my guest on the show, is about practical solutions for that. And it's really interesting, just little tips that they can take throughout the day that maybe they're not aware of to kind of like boost their frequency, maybe pay a little more attention. Like something as simple as just breathing,
Mm.
I've heard that too as well. Is there something that you tell your clients that they maybe should like, little tips that they can do throughout the day?
Yes, yes. These are things I do on the daily. So the first thing I always say, like before you even start your day, get out of bed, get into your body, just really ground into the earth. Like there are a lot of beautiful frequencies that are available now, and our chakra pillar is massive. Like it's a pillar of light now. We're not just working with 7 chakras that are within the body. We have so many more outside of the body. So you have more energy to tap into and draw in and anchor in. So you start to claim your own frequency. You have to know what your frequency is and what that feels like. So it's that saying like dance like no one's watching, be like no one's watching. And this comes with meditation and spending time with yourself and getting to know who are you when no one's watching. Because that's who the world needs more of, is that person, that aspect of you, that version of you that is the most authentic, the most true. And transparency is a big thing now. Like we're starting to resonate with people who are very authentic. And that's because our
Yes.
own psychic abilities, our intuition is starting to activate with all of these energy activations. So we can sense when someone's trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And
Yeah.
at some point, it'll be so easy to discern who is being authentic and who isn't. So
Yeah. That
that's
is
really important.
so true. Love
Practice
that.
discernment.
I love that because you realize like there's like that veil that kind of lifts. So like you get that. It's like you clean your glasses, and then all of a sudden, it's like, wow, that person is so full of shit. Like it's just you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you realize that I've been friends with this person for so long, and it's amazing that. So okay, I love
Yeah,
discernment. Okay,
I'll get to tips on that in a moment. So
all
yeah,
right.
when you wake up, I like to bookend the day. So get up and you got to claim it. Say, "Hi universe," and I say, "How can I serve you?" And the universe says, "Well, how can I serve you?" Because it'll always want to help you. It's you're co-creating with the universe. That's what it's all about. So I like to like claim my space. I make an affirmation, bring that stuff in, say, I am working in alignment with my gifts, and only the highest vibrational people conversations may enter this space. So I'm already putting that out there. I'm not available for anything that isn't that. Then I go
I
about
like
my
that.
day, because when your day goes on, oh, those triggers were going to come up. But then you're like, hey, I made an oath to myself. I put that out there. You just kind of pull back. You remember. And that really sets the tone for your day. So then throughout the day, as life is happening, I always say, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Stop. Practice the pause. When that trigger happens, you can it's almost like you can stop time. This really happens. It's really cool. So you have the situation, someone said something. You're like, oh, that makes me so angry. Why am I angry? It's like before you react, before you respond, hit the pause button. Do the quick inventory. Okay, why do I feel this way? Where do I feel this in my body? Where is it located? Where do I have a memory of this happening for the first time? What's the root of this? And it happens really quick. It's not like you're like, excuse me, I gotta just have a conversation with myself. It's like once you practice it, it happens so quickly. And then you could be like, that's an old trigger, not available for that. I'm going to reframe this situation and respond in a way that is coming from a place of love, and it's a win-win. So I'm not
Yeah.
going to attack the person, but I can inquire further. It really, you start to change the vibration of the moment, right? So you're rising up in vibration, and guess what? The other person's going to rise up with you or not, but you don't have to come back down to their level, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, it's really claiming your space, staying in your truth, and speaking your truth. So many of my clients have throat chakra issues, and a lot of that's coming up right now. And again, that's just a repetition of inherited trauma and not being able to express feeling, because there were so many generations before you that we don't talk about it, but you
Yes.
can. You
Yeah.
can.
That is
Yeah.
so true. That is
That's
so
where the
true.
power lies. Yeah, and many of you are chain breakers in your family. You're probably like the black sheep. I was one. I am one. You're the rebel with a cause. You're the spiritual gangster, the light warrior. All the power to you. I'm so happy there's more people that are stepping into that. So another thing with social media, because you were mentioning before, like, oh, that person's full of shit. Yes. There
Yes.
are a lot of
Oh my
pretenders
God.
out there, a lot of
Oh my.
pretenders who
Yeah. And
are moonlighting in spirituality, because this is becoming a mainstream thing, right? It's cool.
it's
It's
I got to be at the in crowd, right? And that's one of the things we talk about discernment, because I'm very cautious of who I have on my show, and I do my little bit of research, and if it doesn't resonate with me, and
yes.
I mean I use my intuition too, because my bullshit filter is pretty good, and I can tell who are the players and who are not, and the people who actually show up on the show and who want to be on the show. Or it's like, sorry, I'm too busy. I'm booked. I can't have time for that. And that's what I loved about your podcast. I mean, your posting too as well, is that because you preach a lot of it, but you act it too as well. Like I mean, from your energy, it's very, it's grounded, but it's very inviting at the same time. There's no bullshit, which I love. And I can't say that enough. So if people are listening to that, and I really hope you really kind of key into this, there's a lot of information out there, and there is. And whether you're on a podcast or another YouTube channel, there's a lot of stuff, or on social media, there's a lot of stuff out there. But when you find really authentic people who know what they're talking about and speak it from the heart, it's very, very powerful. So I just want to blow a little smoke up your ass there. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I receive it with grace and gratitude. Thank you so much. Oh, that just filled me up. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. We need to fill our own cups too. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think that's important too. And that's one of
Yeah.
the things, like creating community, and why I created this podcast, is to bring that up. And it's so amazing. It kind of has this life of its own. Like when I first decided to do this, and it's like, it's like, oh, okay, I might as well do it. I'm bored. But then I had this calling to do it. Like, it was kind of like this calling, but at the same time too, I got to do something. COVID's kicking my ass. I'm not working. I got to do some stuff. But then it's a life of its own. And the synchronicities of my guests, I'm getting these emails, crazy emails, like from people all over the world, because the audio platform is crazy.
Yes.
And I had an email from a guest on my show, who's got clients calling him up it's like, how did you find me? He's got a little, acupuncture practice in Hamilton, and he's getting clients from all over now. And it's just
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm so happy and because that's what I really wanted to do, is to take people like yourself, who've got an amazing message, who've got great stuff, great programs. And we got to touch on some of those programs. And it's available information that really needs to be out there, really important. So let's talk about some of those great things. What was it? I was like, if I can remember it, I had it written down here. Is about the generation healing practices and the working with epigenetics. What's that program that you offer, or that are the techniques that you work with?
Yeah, so I got certified in Ohana Generational Healing, and I actually
Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah, I studied with the founder. She's actually from Ontario, which is really cool. So Ohana is a Maori word from the Polynesian Islands, which means family. So I have a past life in Hawaii. I got married in Hawaii. Just the name itself already just went ding, 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 ding. I'm like, family healing. Oh my God, so much stuff just happens in the family unit. And again, that's where a lot of our belief systems stem from, actually, most of them.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I studied with her. And because I have the background in the Reiki and the energy healing and like metaphysical stuff, I, through a download, received this amazing course. It just came to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to marry the two and take people on a journey through their DNA story. And we just wrapped up I just offered it last week. So we had the live training, the live modules. It's a 3-day course. I mean, it's still available. You can purchase the digital only, and I'll be doing a new one in April. So I'll be posting those dates really soon. And wow, we have done some deep diving and, oh man, really powerful healing work. So what I've done is, like, when you just do a generational healing, it's very powerful in itself. You don't have to go through the course and do this process with me, but you'll get more out of it if you do, I feel, because it's, again, taking ownership of your story. Because even when we do a healing together, I do offer these healings separately as well. And sometimes I do this because some people aren't ready to own their story, or they're not ready to face those traumas, right? Like, they're very deep. Some are even subconscious or unconscious traumas. So we need someone to guide us through that, navigate through those emotions that are going to surface and hold space. So it's still a very safe place and space to do the self-inquiry. And a lot of stuff does come up. For some people who have like deep-rooted traumas, or like a long line of belief systems that they even see, they've already been on a spiritual path. This is like what really fine-tunes that journey. So it's like I break down this whole generational healing process into 3 days. And we talk about what epigenetics are. We talk about the breakdown of DNA. There's no such thing as junk DNA. All that dormant DNA, that's where your original divine blueprint resides. That soul essence that you came with and you forgot in that veil of amnesia we talked about earlier, that's where it's encoded. So when we activate strands of DNA, we activate more parts of our higher selves, higher aspects, our truth, our gifts, our psychic abilities, right? Our template starts to come on. And then again, that false ego, that whole karmic loop of earthly drama starts to fall away. It vibrates out of your life. And then it's like an onion, right? Like Shrek, you peel back all these layers and you realize there's nobody left to be but you. Like I said, the world needs more of you. So through this process, day one, we talk about the DNA story. Day two, we reframe the story. So we look at the mother side and the father side. So anything to do with love blocks have to do with your relationship with your mother. Anything that has to do with money blocks is with your father. And all of the energy that we carry from our mother's lineage is going to reveal itself or manifest in physical ailments, illness, disease on the left side of the body. So if you drew a line down you, pretend line, mommy's side, right side is the father's side. What's really interesting too is that a lot of my clients, because Earth is an entity, it's a spiritual entity, it's a consciousness. It's feminine in nature, hence this divine feminine rising. So a lot of healing is coming forth just with everybody's mother's lineage, because we are healing the lineage of generations of suppressed trauma, emotions, anger, resentment. So much stuff is coming up. So your healing affects all healing, past, current, and future lineage. So you get to reframe your reality and write a whole new legacy for your future lineage. And so people are like, well, I don't care about the past. Well, who cares about the future? I'm like, actually, yeah, because it impacts everything. It's like that ripple in the water, right?
That's so true.
So you have to think about, like, what kind of earth are you creating? What kind of earth are you going to leave for your children? Of course that matters. That's up to us.
Yeah, it certainly does. But because we're also, I mean, for a lot of us too, I mean, we're not out of that loop of, of reincarnation. Like, there's always that cycle, stuff like that. As much as we say that, oh, I'm never coming back again. Yeah, you probably are. You probably are.
I'm not.
Coming back.
I'm done. This is my last lifetime.
Everybody got it. Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to be back here. I've done my work. I've put in like lifetimes of work just to finally end it at this lifetime. But a lot of us are.
A lot of us are. This is our last lifetime. That's why the stakes are so high. That's why we're in this process of remembering and really embodying the light warrior mission, the soul mission. Because we all have light worker jobs, right? Like we have day jobs. It could be the corporate thing that pays the bills for now. That's hopefully not the way of the future, because everyone is abundant. All abundance is accessible and available to all of us. That again comes to clearing belief systems and what you feel you are worthy of. That's the vibration you're putting out there. And the universe will always match it. So we're talking about with the electromagnetic field of our vibration. So the higher you raise your vibration, the more you access, the more resources, opportunities, money, all of it's more available to you. And that's where people drop the ball with manifesting. There's so much talk about manifestation.
Let's talk about that, because that's the big thing, because a lot of people talk about manifestation, and some people are fantastic at it, and some people are just like can't manifest a cup of coffee. You know what I mean? Like, it's just there's that big range where like you see all that, and then there's a lot of books on it, a lot of movies, and you got to think the right thing and things like that. So what are some of the keys to really changing that program inside there? I know self-worth is a big thing. How do we work on that? How do we say that I'm worthy of receiving, if that's such a lineage thing that's out there?
So a lot of people will set the intentions, which is important because you have to decide what you want. But once you decide what you want, you have to be sure that you really want it. And you have to believe that you are worthy of having the thing. So that's where things start to fizzle out for some people, Because on day one, and this happens, like they might manifest something once and they're like, I did it once, how come I'm not doing it again? It's a constant expansion out of your comfort zone. So I've been through seminars and workshops where people are like, well, what's the number? Just pick a number. What do you want to manifest in a month? I'm like, okay, let's say $10,000. But if $10,000, when you really think about it, makes you so terrified and you're like, what's it going to take to make that? You're calling in a lot of fear. So it has to be an incremental thing. Like, why not make it a little bit more realistic? Something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable and nervous, but also excited. Because now we have to believe in the possibility that this can happen.
All right.
That it's the belief that I can do this can happen for me. And I have to hold that possibility vibrationally for it to match and come forth.
Okay.
I have to create a way for that abundance or money to come to me. You can't just go, set the intention, there's the vision board, awesome. Where's the inspired action, right? You have to take inspired action. You have to take some kind of steps to make this thing happen. It's in your daily work. And it's not so much a state of doing. We're moving away from that. That's not New Earth. It's a state of being. So it's the being of your essence, of your vibration, of who you are that attracts those opportunities and situations. So there is an element of active work where you have to believe in the thing. You have to use those affirmations, those self-beliefs. As soon as that self-doubt creeps in, that resistance that keeps you from this to this, that's the resistance, that's the fear. So what's it going to take to transcend that fear? A lot of reframing every single day. You got to catch yourself, because that's where like we encounter like a challenge or an obstacle and we give up. And then it takes so much more energy to come back to that momentum up here. So I don't want people to crash. You didn't fail. You didn't fail. Your vibration was off. So realign, course correct. That's why when the stuff happens, the triggers, you got to address them as they happen. Don't deal with it later.
Yeah, deal with it now.
Always be conscious of your consciousness. So you're always you're driving the show. It's your show.
Yeah. So how do you make sure that you don't come unconscious? You know, because you do get in those kind of states where it's like you just kind of go through the thing. You get up, you get into your meditation, you do your thing, and you know, you either do some yoga, some stretching and affirmations, and then you kind of get on with day, and then you realize you kind of go back into that old programming where you just kind of go and you don't realize that you're doing it. You know, you kind of go into that unconscious state where you just like automatic programming. You just kind of, and then you realize, and then it's like 5 o'clock rolls around. It's like, what the hell just happened? How do you make sure that you just kind of don't go into that kind of that lull, like you say, that zombie zone, even though you do set the intention and you do some of the work, but it just doesn't stick throughout the day. How do you kind of manage that?
Because you went back on autopilot. You gave your power away.
Yeah.
So you have to claim your power.
How do we manage that? How do we get into like how do we make sure that we don't go unconscious?
So the best thing is, again, check yourself.
All right.
Whenever you're in a state of flow versus force, life flows effortlessly when we're in alignment with our truth and our gifts. Things just happen because they are natural to us. They are God-given gifts that are innate within us, and we're here to share them. So the universe wants to support you in that process. So anything that creates resistance, that pulls you out of it and brings your vibration down, it's just being it's self-mastery. You have to master your energy to master your life. And your energy is the most valuable currency that you have.
Yeah, I like that.
Current flow, current energy has to flow, because remember, energy is energy in motion, right? Emotions in motion kind of thing. Yeah. So I would say be very diligent, be very discerning on how you spend that currency, your energy. So like as we were saying on social media, for example, I do this thing. I give a person maybe 5 to 10 seconds. If I don't feel uplifted, inspired, motivated, supported, encouraged, swipe left or block or unfriend.
Yeah.
that person they're going to siphon your energy, your
Yeah.
time, your money. So I'm not available for those things. We have to make ourselves unavailable and stop saying yes to the shit we hate.
Yes.
Start claiming your power back by the choices that you make every single day. So again, how are we spending our time? What are we watching? Not what are we just consuming with our food and, providing nourishment for our body, but what are we consuming in terms of the news, the media, the conversations that we're having, what we're listening to. Like
Yeah.
if
It's
anything brings our vibration down, we don't want those things. They're not serving our highest good. And you
no.
have total control over those choices every single moment. You
Yeah.
do.
It's amazing how. And I had a young lady on who's a naturopathic doctor, and we talked about that as part of the process. There's just stuff that you can't watch, you can't listen to. You go, Jesus, I can't believe that they're saying this. And it's just like you realize that this programming that they put out in the media and the social media stuff, and like you're saying, if it doesn't uplift you, okay, well, that didn't uplift me. If it's not inspiring, if it doesn't give you that tingly feeling like, oh my God, I needed to hear that, enjoy that process. And that's just one of the things that I love about your post, is because that's what you really do. Like you just like, they're not like long-winded speeches, but it's just poignant stuff at the present moment that, you can tell that you're guided by it and you're guided by your heart. And that's really important to do that. And speaking of that, we're almost out of time.
Wow.
Yeah. So that being said, Dorothy, if people are listening to the podcast here and they want to find your services on the World Wide Web, where can they find you?
The interweb.
The interweb, yes, darling. Yes. Where can they find you?
Okay, so my website is dorothyknightreiki.ca. And I always encourage people to not so much read into the things, I want you to feel into the content of the website.
Like
So
that.
that's that whole thing we're talking about. Discern, because you want to really vibrationally match with whomever you're working with, especially a spiritual teacher. So
Yes.
I have a certain frequency that I'm putting out like a radio antenna, and there's people that are a certain frequency that are going to be a match to that. They're at that certain stage in their journey, and when we work together, boom, magic happens. Okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes people aren't ready, then they come back or they find a different teacher. That's totally okay. That's why the universe gives us choice. It's the law of free will. How amazing.
Yeah. I love that.
Whoever helps you evolve on your journey, all the power to you. Yes, so up in my website, we have Reiki services. So Reiki is a beautiful starting point, as I'm sure you can agree, to people
Yes.
who just want to understand what's energy. How do I feel energy? How do I understand energy? How do I work with it? So all of my courses are available there for Reiki from level 1 to master level practitioner and teacher. And
Perfect.
then I've introduced the Trauma RX, your epigenetics experience course. So
Yeah.
those
That
are
looks fantastic.
continual and super, super powerful. And now I'm launching another course. Well, I've done it last year, but the stakes are higher. Like I said, the energy is different. I'm adding more to it. So it's the Key 360 Mastermind Your Ascension Journey. So
Perfect.
the way I designed my courses is there's something as an energy tool, resource, information, knowledge, wisdom, guidance, whatever you need at every level of your ascension journey. So
Perfect.
when you tune into the website, you'll just know what resonates for you, and your soul will speak to you and say, hey, I think that's the thing I need to learn, or that's the tool I need to master right now. That'll really help me in this journey. Maybe it's just a conversation with me. You can also just book a consultation and be like, I'm really stuck with this. And we
Yeah.
can explore further and take the next inspired action steps.
Yeah. I
And
really
my
love that.
Instagram handle is, my Instagram handle is at Heal the Child Within. So I'm posting on the regular, lots of IG stuff, IGTV stuff. We do lives. I have guests. I have my own little show that I do. It's called The Healing Cafe, very similar to the conversation we're having. So
Beautiful.
everything that's feel good, uplifting, inspiring to help you rise up. So you want your energy to spiral up instead of down, then I'm your person.
Beautiful. Well said. Well said. And I am so happy I found you on Facebook there. Beautiful information, a beautiful soul, beautiful person, lots of energy. Highly recommend those courses. I think they're going to be some life-changing things there. That being said, I'm just going to close off the show. This has been the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast with Michael Philpott. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.